The coldest place in the known universe existed not by accident but by design, in the outer reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy. The ice realm stood as a monument to impossible survival, a world where temperatures never rose above freezing, where blizzards raged without pause, and where the very air crystallized with each breath. For thousands of years, the ice realm served one purpose: to test the worthiness of spacefaring species. The ancient frost keepers created this brutal testing ground, believing that only those who could conquer such extreme conditions deserved access to the advanced technology hidden beneath the frozen surface. No species had ever passed the trial. Valeria watched from her crystal tower as another ship approached the atmosphere. Its sleek design suggested human origin, a species she had heard of but never encountered. Standing at the window, her silver hair reflected the pale blue light of twin moons. Her skin bore the marks of frost, ancient runes that shimmered with each heartbeat. Centuries of isolation had made her face expressionless, her eyes holding the same cold emptiness as the landscape she guarded. Ember, her crimson-scaled dragon companion, stirred from sleep in the corner of the chamber. Steam rose from his nostrils as he stretched wings the color of dried blood extending to their full impressive span. The beast was easily twice the size of any Earth predator, with intelligence that surpassed most sentient species. Valeria had found him as an egg during her early days as guardian, and together they had watched countless expeditions arrive with hope and depart as frozen monuments to failure. "Come see," Valeria said without turning her head. "They bring metal and fire like all the others." Ember moved, too, her side, his claws clicking against the crystal floor. His amber eyes narrowed as he observed the human vessel beginning landing procedures. Not like the others, he rumbled, his voice like stones rolling down a mountain. "They bring smaller vessels. Within the larger one, their heat signatures are different." Valeria tilted her head, curious despite centuries of disappointment. Most species arrived with weapons and shields against the cold, attempting to fight the elements directly. The humans appeared to be deploying multiple smaller structures from their main ship. "The humans have been spreading through the nearby systems," she said. "Most species called them adaptable." She traced one frost marking on her arm. "I wonder if that will help them here, where adaptation seems impossible." The ship landed on a flat expanse 5 kilometers from her tower, producing a cloud of crystalline snow that sparkled in the weak sunlight. Valeria watched through enchanted ice that allowed her to see across great distances. The humans emerged wearing environmental suits that seemed inadequate for the brutal cold. "They will freeze by nightfall," Ember predicted, settling his massive form beside her, his body heat the only warmth in the tower. "They always do." Instead of attempting to explore immediately, the humans began assembling structures from components carried in their ship. Working with efficient precision, they erected dome-shaped buildings connected by enclosed walkways. While Valeria observed, one human broke away from the group, placing strange devices in a circular pattern around their developing base. "Those are thermal probes," Valeria realized. "They study the ice before challenging it." No species had ever shown such restraint before. Most attempted immediate expeditions to locate the technology, rumored to exist beneath the ice. Few survived even the first night. 20 humans worked tirelessly, their movements becoming more practiced as they constructed their colony. The main structure rose in the center, surrounded by 5 smaller domes, all connected by transparent tunnels. Most interesting was the central spire. They built a tower that seemed to draw energy from the swirling aurora that permanently decorated the sky they bring. Their own warmth, Ember noted with reluctant interest. His sensitive heat detection could sense the rising temperature within the human structures. Not just fire or chemical heat, but something sustained. Night fell quickly on the ice realm, bringing temperatures that could freeze flesh in seconds. Valeria prepared for the familiar pattern of emergency transmissions, followed by desperate attempts to return to orbit, followed by silence. Instead, the human structures glowed with steady light. Their heat signatures remained constant even as winds capable of stripping skin from bone howled across the landscape. "How are they managing this?" Valeria whispered. Her duty was to observe and report to the frost keepers, who would determine if any species passed their trial. But in 10,000 years, none had survived the first night. She made her decision quickly. Ember, we will observe them closer. The dragon rumbled in agreement, unfurling his massive wings. Valeria mounted his scaled back, settling between the ridge of spikes that lined his spine. With a powerful thrust, they launched from the tower window into the frigid air. Ember could fly in conditions that would ground any spacecraft his internal flame, keeping him aloft where engines would freeze and fail. They circled the human settlement from above Valeria using ancient magic to cloak their presence. The humans had created a perfect circle of warmth, their central heating system pushing back the killing cold. Several figures moved between buildings through the transparent tunnels, appearing unaffected by the lethal environment outside. A new feeling stirred within Valeria, something she had not experienced in centuries. Hope, one human woman, emerged briefly from the central dome, looking directly up at the sky where Valeria and Ember hovered invisible. Her face shield reflected the aurora, but Valeria could see eyes sharp with intelligence scanning the darkness, as if sensing their presence. Commander Olivia Winters called out one of the other humans. "This storm is different from our predictions. We should strengthen the northern barrier." The woman nodded, still looking skyward before returning inside. Valeria felt something unexpected. Respect. "Ember, we will watch these humans closely," Valeria decided. "They may be different from the others." The dragon circled the settlement once more before turning back toward their crystal tower. The fire within his chest burned stronger than it had in years. "Something about these humans awakens curiosity in you." Ember observed his thoughts connecting with hers as they had for centuries. Valeria did not deny it. These humans built shelters before exploring. She said, "They respect the ice instead of fighting it directly." Perhaps they understand what the others did not. That the ice trial was never about endurance alone, but about transformation. As they returned to their tower, the human settlement continued to glow against the darkness. A warm defiance against the killing. Cold. For the first time in thousands of years, Valeria wondered if the ancient technologies hidden beneath the ice might finally find worthy inheritors. The ice realm had claimed countless species, but something told her these humans might be different. The trial had begun. 7 days passed, and the human settlement not only survived but expanded. Commander Olivia Winters gathered her team in the central dome, where thermal regulators hummed steadily, providing a constant temperature that allowed the humans to work. Without their heavy environmental suits, maps and data screens lined the walls displaying information about the ice world that no previous species had lived long enough to collect. "Our thermal mapping reveals something interesting," Olivia pointed to a 3-dimensional projection showing heat signatures beneath the surface. "The ice is not uniform. There are warm spots deep below, almost like veins running through the planet." Penny Rodriguez, the expedition xenobiologist, nodded, her dark hair pulled back tightly as she studied the readings. "These patterns seem almost deliberate," she said, "like they were engineered rather than natural formations." The 15 members of the science team murmured among themselves. Each had been selected for their expertise in extreme environment survival. Olivia had personally chosen them from thousands of candidates, believing that the frozen planet might hold secrets worth the risk. Maya Foster, the chief engineer, approached the projection, her gloved hand tracing one of the warm veins visible beneath their location. "If these are artificial, we could potentially tap into them," she suggested. "Create a sustainable heating system that works with the planet instead of fighting against it." From her hidden observation point high in the crystalline cliffs, Valeria watched through enchanted ice. Her elven senses allowed her to hear their conversations despite the distance. Ember curled beside her, his massive body radiating heat that kept the small cave comfortable. "They seek to understand, not conquer," Valeria whispered. Her frost markings glowed slightly brighter, reflecting her interest. The 17 species before them had immediately searched for weapons or defenses. These humans sought knowledge. First, Ember snorted, sending a small flame dancing across the ice ceiling. "Not understanding has killed every species that came before." The dragon reminded her. "The ice has its own will, its own purpose. The Frost Keepers designed it that way." Back at the human settlement, Penny prepared for a midnight expedition. Her specialty was biological adaptation to extreme environments, and she wanted samples from the ice ridges 5 kilometers north of the base. Olivia had reluctantly approved the mission, provided she took security officer Kate Daniels as escort Penny, and Kate moved carefully across the frozen landscape. Their specialized thermal suits represented the pinnacle of human insulation technology, but even these could only protect them for 6 hours in the lethal cold. The women followed a path marked by heat beacons, small devices that created safe zones every 100 meters. "This storm is building faster than predicted," Kate said, looking at the swirling clouds above them. "We have maybe 2 hours before it hits." The security officer carried a pulse rifle, though no life forms had been detected on initial scans. Something about the planet made her instincts fire. Warning signals. Penny nodded but continued working. She chipped ice samples from various formations, storing them in thermal containers. The scientist moved with practiced efficiency, having worked on 3 other frozen worlds before this one. None had been as extreme as the ice realm, but the principles remained. The same something moved at the edge of her vision, Kate. "Did you see that Penny stopped her collection?" Her scanner showed no heat signatures, yet she was certain something had shifted among the ice formations ahead. Before Kate could respond, the ice beneath them trembled. A distant rumbling grew louder. Penny recognized the sound from her briefings on Earth phenomena. "Avalanche," Kate shouted, grabbing Penny and pulling her toward a rocky outcropping. The security officer activated her emergency beacon as a wall of ice and snow descended toward them. Valeria watched from above, seated on Ember's back. The dragon hovered invisibly over the humans. The avalanche was no accident, but a test created by minor frost keepers' automated systems that triggered whenever explorers ventured too far from their bases. 17 species had lost members to these traps. None had survived. To her surprise, the humans had technology she had never seen. Kate deployed small thermal charges that instantly melted paths through the advancing snow, creating stable zones. The women moved from zone to zone with practiced coordination, as if they had trained for precisely this scenario. They prepared for the trials. Ember observed, his voice rumbling with surprise. "Most species believe technology alone will save them. These humans understand the environment." The avalanche subsided, leaving the landscape transformed. Penny immediately collected samples from the newly exposed ice layers while Kate established a perimeter. Something about the scientist reminded Valeria of herself. Curiosity overriding caution. When the humans returned safely to their base, Valeria felt conflicted. The ice realm existed to eliminate unworthy species, yet she found herself hoping these humans might survive longer. The true test would come soon enough. 3 days later, the killing storm arrived. The phenomenon occurred precisely every 60 days, bringing temperatures low enough to freeze atmosphere itself and winds that could strip flesh from bone. No previous expedition had survived at Valeria, and Ember watched from their crystal tower as the massive front approached the human settlement. Swirling clouds of ice particles blotted out the stars, turning day to night. "They will attempt to flee." Ember predicted most species recognized the storm as unsurvivable, yet the humans did not evacuate. Instead, they activated a previously unseen defense system. The domes glowed with reinforced energy fields while heating elements embedded in their structures intensified. The design allowed snow to build around their buildings, creating natural insulation. The storm struck with apocalyptic force. Structures built by previous species had shattered in moments. Even Valeria's tower, reinforced with ancient magic, trembled under the assault. Hour after hour, the storm raged. Valeria expected the human heat signatures to fade as their systems failed. Instead, they maintained steady warmth. Inside their compound, Olivia and her team monitored the storm, gathering data no species had ever lived to record. When the storm finally passed after 2 full days, Valeria stood speechless. The human settlement remained intact. The scientists emerged from their domes, immediately beginning repairs and collecting samples from the fresh ice. Ember shifted restlessly. "They should not have survived," he said, his voice holding confusion. No natural species could withstand the deep freeze. Valeria studied the humans with new interest. Perhaps They are more than they appear, she whispered. Her frost markings pulsed with ancient magic, sensing something unusual about these visitors. They built shelters that embrace the ice instead of fighting it. Perhaps the Frost Keepers have finally found their worthy inheritors. As Penny collected ice samples near the base perimeter, she noticed strange markings in the freshly fallen snow symbols, unlike anything in human language. Nearby, a scale the color of blood partially embedded in ice. She photographed, both storing the evidence carefully. The xenobiologist felt certain now they were not alone on this frozen world. The human settlement completed its 3rd month on the ice realm, a milestone no species had ever reached. Valeria stood before the ancient communication crystal in her tower chambers. Her frost markings glowed intensely as she reported to the Frost Keepers. The mysterious creators of the ice trial rarely intervened directly, preferring to watch and judge from afar. The humans adapt faster than any previous species, Valeria spoke to the pulsing crystal. Their thermal technology evolves daily. They survived the killing storm without casualties. The crystal flashed with cold blue light. Unacceptable, came the response. The trial is meant to eliminate, not educate. Test them further. Determine if they use forbidden methods. The communication ended, leaving Valeria troubled. She had observed 17 species fail the ice trial, yet never questioned her role as guardian. The humans stirred something unexpected within her curiosity, and perhaps even admiration. Ember sensed her conflicted thoughts. As he returned from his own surveillance of the human base, they tap into the thermal veins beneath the surface, he reported. The dragon settled his massive form beside her. These humans understand the planet in ways others never attempted. Valeria made her decision. The Frost Keepers demand a test, she said. I will sabotage their primary thermal core tonight when they sleep. The security systems around the human settlement had grown increasingly sophisticated, but Valeria possessed ancient magics that allowed her to move unseen. Her elven form slipped between sensor arrays as she approached the central dome, where the main thermal regulator hummed steadily. Inside the engineering bay, she studied the human technology with growing respect. Their design elegantly combined efficiency with adaptability. Unlike previous visitors who brought overwhelming force, the humans created systems that worked with the environment, not against it. Valeria placed her palm against the primary thermal conductor, frost spreading from her fingers into the machinery. She felt a momentary pang of guilt as the system temperature began to drop. The humans had earned her respect, yet duty demanded she test their worthiness. Alarms blared throughout the settlement. As Valeria vanished into the night, inside the central dome, Commander Olivia rushed to the engineering bay where Maya Foster already worked frantically at the controls. Temperature falling throughout the base, Maya reported, her fingers flying across the interface panels. Primary thermal conductor failing pattern suggests deliberate sabotage. Kate Daniels arrived with her security team, their weapons ready, though scanners showed no intruders. Something tampered with our systems, she said, examining the frost patterns across the machinery, like nothing I've ever seen, almost like the ice itself turned against us. This is our moment. Olivia declared, her voice calm despite the dropping temperature. Every expedition faces a breaking point, ours is. Now, instead of evacuating as previous species might have done, the humans initiated what they called Protocol Phoenix. Maya redirected power to secondary systems, while engineering teams began rebuilding the damaged components. Most impressively, the scientists treated the sabotage as a learning opportunity. The thermal technology was not meant to operate at these temperatures, Maya noted, studying the crystalline patterns forming across the damaged conductor. These frost patterns contain information, like a signature or language. From her hidden position on a nearby ridge, Valeria watched with Ember beside her. The humans should be preparing emergency evacuation procedures, she said instead. They adapt, Ember rumbled his agreement. They improve what was broken, the dragon observed. Their new system appears more efficient than before. Within 6 hours, the settlement had not only restored thermal balance, but enhanced it. Maya incorporated elements of the frost pattern into the new design, creating a hybrid technology that produced 20% more heat with less energy consumption. That night, Kate Daniels led a patrol beyond the settlement perimeter. The security officer had convinced Commander Olivia that their saboteur might have left traces in the surrounding ice fields. "We need to know what we're dealing with," Kate insisted. This was not system failure, but deliberate interference. The patrol moved carefully across the frozen landscape, using upgraded thermal suits. Kate noticed unusual formations in the ice patterns too precise to be natural. The tracks led toward a crystalline ridge that reflected starlight in ways that defied physics. Above them, Valeria watched with growing concern. These humans proved more resilient than expected. They did not merely survive her test, but thrived learning from it. The Frost Keepers would demand more direct intervention. Ember stirred beside her, sensing her disquiet. "You admire them," he observed, his thoughts connected directly with hers as they had for centuries. "Perhaps I do," Valeria admitted. "They show qualities I have not seen in 10,000 years of guardianship." Kate signaled her team to stop as they approached a narrow ice canyon. Something moved ahead, a flash of crimson against the endless white. The security officer activated her thermal scanner, but readings fluctuated wildly as if something interfered with the technology. "I know you're there," Kate called, her voice steady, despite the bone-chilling cold. "We come seeking." Understanding not conflict, Valeria remained hidden, yet impressed by the humans' directness. Previous species had responded to sabotage with increased aggression. These humans sought communication first. The decision was taken from her when Ember suddenly rose from their hiding place, his massive wings unfurling against the night sky. The dragon had grown weary of shadows and secrets. His judgment had always been more direct than hers. Valeria stood revealing herself as well. Her silver hair and frost-marked skin glowed in the starlight, elven features unmistakably alien to human eyes. "I am Valeria, guardian of the Ice Realm," she announced. "This is Ember. We have watched your kind since arrival." Kate maintained remarkable composure despite facing a dragon larger than their transport vessels and an elf woman whose skin glittered with living ice. She lowered her weapon slowly. "Commander Winter suspected we might not be alone." Here, Penny Rodriguez pushed forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming caution. "You sabotaged our systems," she stated, not as accusation but confirmation. Studying the frost patterns on Valeria's skin, those markings match the crystalline formations on our damaged conductor. "I tested your adaptability," Valeria acknowledged. "All species face trials here. Yours continued to survive when others failed." Kate activated her communication link. "Commander, you need to see this," she said, keeping her eyes fixed on the imposing figures before them. "We have first contact within an hour." Olivia Winters stood face to face with Valeria and Ember. The human commander showed neither fear nor aggression, only intense interest. "You speak our language," she noted. "I speak all languages that have attempted the ice trial," Valeria replied. 17 species before yours. None succeeded. The humans exchanged glances. Maya studying the thermal readings emanating from Ember, while Penny cataloged every detail of Valeria's non-human physiology. The xenobiologist could barely contain her excitement at confirming intelligent alien life. "Why did you reveal yourselves now?" Olivia asked. The question that truly mattered. Valeria studied the human commander, sensing a kindred spirit, a guardian responsible for her people. "You survive differently than others," she answered. "You build shelters, but also understanding. You melt the cold not just physically but conceptually. You learn rather than conquer." Kate remained vigilant, her weapon lowered but ready. "Did you sabotage the previous 17 expeditions as well?" Ember answered, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "The Ice Realm itself is the saboteur. We merely observe and report." The dragon fixed intelligent eyes on the humans. "Every species faces the same conditions. You alone have thrived." "Commander, Winters made a decision that would forever change human history." "I propose an alliance," she said, understanding that everything had changed. "The ice trial continues, but perhaps together we all might learn more." Valeria felt the frost markings on her skin pulse with ancient magic. The Frost Keepers would not approve. Yet something about these humans suggested they might be exactly what the Ice Realm had awaited for 10,000 years. The crystal tower where Valeria had spent millennia in solitude now hosted humans. Commander Olivia studied the ancient structure with wonder. The walls shimmered with an inner light that seemed alive, somehow responsive to thought and emotion. Frost, patterns similar to those on Valeria's skin, ran through the crystalline surfaces, creating maps and diagrams, unlike any human writing. "This tower predates my guardianship," Valeria explained, guiding the small group of humans through chambers that no other species had ever entered. The Frost Keepers built it as both observatory and archive. Maya ran her scanner over sections of wall, her eyes widening at the readings. These crystals contain data, she realized, not just decorative patterns but actual information storage. The engineer touched one surface, gently feeling subtle vibrations beneath her fingertips. Like living technology, Penny cataloged everything, her scientific training struggling to process what she witnessed. The xenobiologist had theorized about alien biology for years, but nothing had prepared her for Valeria, a being whose physiology seemed partially crystalline. The frost markings on the elf woman's skin changed and shifted, responding to her emotional state. Ember circled overhead, his massive form casting shadows across the ice plains. The dragon had reluctantly accepted the human presence, though remained wary. Kate watched him from the tower window, understanding the dragon's protective instincts toward Valeria. They were not so different from her own feelings toward her crew. 5 weeks had passed since first contact. The alliance between humans and guardians progressed rapidly, as both sides recognized mutual benefits. The humans gained knowledge about the ice realm that would have taken decades to discover alone, while Valeria found their perspective refreshingly different from her own ancient views. Commander Olivia spread holographic plans across a crystal table in the main chamber. "Our geothermal tap is almost ready for activation," she explained. "We believe we can warm the planet's core, creating permanent habitable zones without damaging the ice." Ecology. Valeria studied the human designs with mixed feelings. The thermal network would transform sections of the ice realm, something no previous species had attempted. Such fundamental change violated the original purpose of the trial, which demanded endurance, not alteration. Yet she could not deny the elegance of their solution. "The Frost Keepers will not approve," she warned. Her duty as guardian required her to speak the truth. The ice trial was never meant to be solved, only endured. Olivia met the elf woman's gaze directly. "Then perhaps the trial itself needs reconsideration," she suggested. Respectfully, all tests must eventually find worthy students or become meaningless. Before Valeria could respond, Ember sent an urgent thought signal. The ancient communication crystal pulsed with intense blue light, demanding attention. The dragon sensed what was coming. They know, he warned mentally. They have observed and judged Valeria approach the crystal with visible apprehension. The humans watched as her frost markings glowed in response to the crystal's light. Silent communication passed. Between Guardian and Creators, a conversation held in frequencies beyond human perception. When she turned back, her expression had darkened. "The Frost Keepers have declared your modifications a violation of the trial," she announced. "They come now, to cleanse the planet and restart the trial with a different species." Kate immediately activated her tactical display. "How much time do we have?" "3 of your days at most," Valeria replied. "Their vessels move through dimensions beyond your detection capabilities." "Commander," Olivia remained calm despite the dire news. "How powerful are these Frost Keepers? What forces do they command?" Valeria gestured toward the window where the endless ice plains stretched to the horizon. "They control worlds like this throughout the galaxy." The frost markings on her skin pulsed with ancient memory. 17 species before you attempted resistance. All failed. Maya stepped forward, studying a particular frost pattern on the wall that seemed to depict energy flows. "These thermal veins throughout the planet," she said. "What is their true purpose? Are they natural or created?" Valeria hesitated. Centuries of loyalty, conflicting with new trust. These humans had earned knowledge, yet revealing certain truths violated her oldest oaths. Finally, she decided the veins are technology. She admitted the entire planet is a machine of sorts. The ice contains dormant systems that can be awakened but only by those who understand both preservation and transformation. Penny connected the implications. Immediately, the ice trial isn't about endurance alone. She realized, staring at Valeria. It's about finding a species that can understand the ice itself. The elf woman nodded. The Frost Keepers search for inheritors. The trial reveals which species might be worthy of their knowledge, but they expect that knowledge to be earned, not created. She looked pointedly at the humans' thermal technology. The 17 species before you tried to conquer the ice, you instead seek to transform it. Neither approach matches what the Keepers envisioned. Olivia processed this revelation quickly, her mind already formulating a response. Then we must show them a third way, she decided. The commander turned to her team. We accelerate the geothermal project immediately. The next 2 days saw frantic activity. The human settlement transformed into a base of operations as engineers and scientists worked alongside Valeria Ember, provided aerial reconnaissance tracking subtle atmospheric changes that indicated approaching ships. Maya led the technical efforts, integrating what they learned from Valeria's frost patterns into their thermal network. The engineer recognized that human technology alone would fail against the Frost Keepers, but a hybrid approach might succeed. Penny made a critical discovery while examining ice samples near one of the thermal veins. These crystals resonate at specific frequencies, she explained to Olivia. They respond to our network, but only when tuned precisely. The revelation sparked intense discussion. The entire planet might respond if they calibrated correctly. As the third day dawned, the skies above the ice realm darkened. Valeria sensed the dimensional rifts opening as the Frost Keepers' armada arrived. Her frost markings pulsed with, "Warning, they come," she announced. Massive ships unlike anything in human experience materialized above the ice plains. Their designs defied conventional physics, appearing simultaneously solid and fluid, crystalline and organic. Weapons capable of planetary destruction hummed with dormant energy. Valeria stood atop her crystal tower, Ember beside her as the humans gathered around them. The ancient communication crystal blazed with demands for the Guardian to fulfill her duty, eliminate the humans, and restore the ice trial to its original purpose. 10,000 years of service weighed against weeks of new understanding. Valeria faced the choice that would define her existence. The humans watched silently, respecting that this decision belonged to her alone. Ember surprisingly made his position clear first. The dragon, who had witnessed countless failed expeditions with cynicism, now stood with the humans. These ones understand, he rumbled, his thoughts projected to Valeria alone. They see what others missed. The ice is not meant to be endured or conquered, but harmonized with. Valeria reached her decision. I cannot oppose you directly, she told the Frost Keepers through the crystal. But neither will I help you destroy these humans. They have shown wisdom where others showed only force. With that, she turned to Commander Olivia. I will teach you the final secret of the ice realm, Valeria said. Her frost markings glowed with intensity as she placed her palms against the crystal walls. The ice itself can be awakened. The Frost Keepers' ships descended toward the planet's surface, their message clear. If the Guardian would not perform her duty, they would. The Frost Keepers' ships descended through darkened skies, their crystalline hulls reflecting the aurora in fractured patterns. Energy weapons charged, targeting the human settlement and Valeria's tower alike. They had come to reset the ice trial, eliminating what they considered a failed experiment. Valeria stood in the central chamber of her crystal tower, with Commander Olivia and the human team around her. The elf's frost markings glowed with intensity as she pressed her palms against an ancient pattern. On the wall, the entire planet is connected, she explained. This chamber serves as a control nexus. Outside, Ember took flight, his massive wings carrying him toward the approaching ships. The dragon would buy them time, though he could not hope to defeat the armada alone. His flame breath struck the lead vessel, creating momentary disruption, but the Frost Keepers continued their advance. Maya rapidly calibrated the human thermal network, following Valeria's instructions. The engineer integrated their technology with the ancient systems hidden beneath the ice. working alongside her penny-adjusted frequency resonators that would communicate with the crystalline structures throughout the planet. The frost markings on Valeria's skin began transferring to the walls around them, forming new patterns that spread throughout the tower. The process looked painful, but the elf showed no reaction beyond intense concentration. "I have guarded the ice realm for 10,000 years, she told Olivia. "The knowledge I carry was meant for worthy inheritors. I believe you are those inheritors." Kate coordinated security teams throughout the settlement, preparing contingencies, though conventional weapons would have little effect against the Frost Keepers. The security officer understood her role was not to fight directly, but to ensure the thermal project could be completed. From outside came sounds of destruction as the first Frostkeeper ship fired upon the outskirts of the human base. Ice structures shattered under energy beams that froze matter at the subatomic level. The temperature plunged as artificial cold penetrated the settlement's defenses. "We need more time," Maya shouted, her fingers dancing across control interfaces. The thermal network required precise calibration to activate the planetary systems. Any error would result in failure. Commander Olivia made her decision. "Kate, take your team to the southern ridge," she ordered. "Deploy the thermal flares." The security officer nodded, understanding the command. Their emergency beacons would draw Frostkeeper attention, briefly diverting their attack. Olivia turned to Valeria. "The ships target you specifically?" "Yes." The elf nodded, confirming the commander's suspicion. "Then go with Ember. Draw them away while we complete the activation." For a moment, Valeria hesitated, torn between her duty to stay and protect the ancient knowledge and the tactical wisdom of Olivia's plan. Ember landed on the tower platform, his thoughts connecting with hers. "The humans need time, Guardian," the dragon reminded her. "They understand what must be done." Valeria made her choice, mounting Ember's scaled back. Her silver hair and glowing frost markings made her instantly recognizable to the Frost Keepers. The dragon launched into the sky, carrying the Guardian in a deliberate display designed to draw attention. The plan worked perfectly. The Frost Keeper ships immediately changed course, pursuing Valeria and Ember across the ice plains. Energy beams sliced through the atmosphere, narrowly missing the dragon as he executed complex aerial maneuvers. Valeria directed ice magic defensively, creating crystalline shields that absorbed incoming attacks. In the crystal tower, Maya reached the critical stage of activation. The engineer integrated the final connections between human thermal technology and the ancient planetary systems. The walls hummed with energy as dormant systems awakened after millennia of waiting. Penny monitored crystalline responses throughout the ice realm. "It's working," she called out, excitement overriding scientific detachment. "The ice responds to our frequencies." Commander Olivia watched sensor displays tracking Valeria's desperate flight from pursuing ships Kate and her team had deployed, the thermal flares successfully creating additional distractions. But the Guardian could not evade the Frost Keepers indefinitely. Maya activated the final sequence, increasing power to maximum levels. The thermal network hummed at frequencies that resonated with the planetary system, sending energy pulses along the veins beneath the ice. The transformation began slowly, then accelerated. Throughout the ice realm, crystalline formations that had remained dormant for millennia awakened blue light, spread across the surface following patterns similar to Valeria's frost markings. The planet itself seemed to come alive, responding to the precise frequency of the human thermal network. The Frost Keepers detected the change immediately. Their ships halted pursuit of Valeria and Ember, turning back toward the human settlement. But something unexpected happened as they approached. The awakened ice generated a shield of crystalline energy that repelled their vessels. Weapons that had destroyed 17 previous expeditions found no purchase against the planetary defense system. The Frost Keepers had created the ice realm as a test, but had never anticipated that the planet itself might choose its inheritors. Valeria watched in awe as Ember carried her back toward the tower. The ice doesn't just endure, she realized. It transforms. Inside the crystal chamber, Commander Olivia and her team witnessed the planet's response through sensor displays. The thermal network had not simply melted. The cold but had communicated with it, establishing harmony rather than dominance. Maya studied the energy patterns with wonder. The planet responds differently to us than to the Frost Keepers, she observed. It recognizes our approach as symbiotic, rather than controlling. When Valeria and Ember returned, they found the Frostkeeper ships retreating, dimensional rifts opening to carry them away. The Ice Realm had made its choice, accepting the humans as worthy inheritors, rejecting even its creators' authority. The ancient communication crystal pulsed one final time, delivering a message not from the Frostkeepers but from the planet itself. Valeria translated for the humans. "The trial ends," it declared. "New guardians have been found in the days that followed." The Ice Realm transformed, not into a warm planet but into a balanced ecosystem where cold and warmth existed in harmony. The human settlement expanded, establishing the first permanent colony named Thaw Haven. The thermal network continued to evolve, awakening more planetary systems, creating zones where various environments could flourish. Valeria and Ember remained not as solitary guardians, but as teachers sharing their millennium of knowledge with humanity. Commander Olivia established an interspecies terraforming council with Valeria as equal partner. Their mission extended beyond the Ice Realm to other damaged worlds throughout the galaxy. 1 month after the confrontation, Valeria stood with Ember on a cliff overlooking the growing human city that gleamed with lights against the Arctic night. Her frost markings had changed, incorporating elements of human thermal patterns, symbolizing the new alliance. 17 species came before seeking to conquer the ice, she said. To her dragon companion, none understood the true purpose of the trial. Ember rumbled in agreement, sending a small flame dancing across the night sky. The humans did not just endure the ice or fight it, he observed. They understood it. They worked with it rather than against it. They built shelters but also built understanding. Valeria nodded, watching the activity below. The ice trial was never about finding the strongest species but the wisest ones, those who could transform hostile environments into havens, a skill needed for healing countless worlds damaged by ancient wars. In the central plaza of Thaw Haven, a monument took shape. Crystals harvested from the ice plains, arranged in patterns that combined human science with ancient knowledge. The inscription told the story for future generations to remember. No species endured the ice trial until humans built shelters, melted the cold, and survived. But Valeria knew the truth was more complex. The humans had succeeded not by merely surviving the ice but by understanding it, not by conquering but by communicating, not by enduring but by transforming, as new expeditions prepared to depart for other frozen worlds. Valeria felt hope replace the solitude of her long guardianship. The Ice Realm had found its inheritors at last. The true journey was just beginning.